talks that we've prepared as part of our symposium that we call Convergence. It's a symposium designed to bring industry professionals that can talk to us about the intersection of different media all together, bringing them together in a way to convey information. And we're lucky for our first one to have Jack Briggs, one of our alumni from the Scripps College of Communication. He's here to talk about his work at the Associated Press. He's been working with the AP Broadcast Center for the last 34 years. During that time, he's been able to cover 16 Olympic Games. And he's got some really interesting perspectives on how the AP has adapted in the digital environment, how convergence has really worked at one of the oldest media organizations in the world. And I think with that, I will turn the time over to Jack Briggs for the rest of the time. Thank you, Jack.
All right, great. Well, thank you. This has been a lot of fun today. I've really enjoyed myself, being in those classrooms, talking to all those young people, which I was once. Some of you were too, a long time ago. But the byplay has been very good, been very constructive for me, and I hope for them. As Hans said, I'm with the Associated Press. I've been there a long time. Didn't quite plan it to be that way, but it's how it turned out. You never know about those things. But it's been an interesting ride. Been able to make a lot of nice trips and cover a lot of events and be on hand for many things. I've also been able to see a lot of change, like we've all noticed and are aware of in the media landscape. All you have to do is pick up a paper and see how it's not the same paper many of us grew up with. Living in Washington, D.C., the Washington Post is considered one of the top papers in the country. And the Post is nowhere near what it was 10 years ago. It's shrunk physically. The number of pages are less. There's no more business section. There's business news in the paper, but it's not a full section. And that's obviously, as I'm sure everybody is aware, is the nature of what's going on now. What are people doing to try and get around that? Again, the bottom line is to make money. Businesses open up for one reason, that's to make a dollar, and the AP is no different. The internet is driving so many things. The change is coming, and it has come, and it's passing some by, but the AP is trying to stay ahead of the curve. I put together a keynote on my iPad, my little toy iPad, which I get a lot of time out, as my daughter Colleen would attest to, who's seen me play with the darn thing. I thought I'd give you a little idea about just who I am, what I've done. I'll brush through that quickly because, I don't like talking about myself any more than you probably like talking about yourself in public. But I'll give you an idea at least who I am and what kind of things I've been able to do. For any of you who've been here in Athens for a number of years, when I got here, that was WOUB television. And it's obviously changed a great deal. My sophomore year, they built what is now an old building, but it was a new building then for radio television. And that was just a godsend to get in there and work and be able to work with the equipment that was available there. There is proof I once had hair. You look at, I put this in here not so much for the hair, but the fact that this is gone, tape decks, you don't have those anymore. These things, a lot of people, students I've talked to have no clue what this is. It's a cart machine, which was the standard in radio and in television as far as audio for television. Those things are gone, long gone. And that's part of the change, and that's where people have had to make the changes. Again, just a quick little thing of just who I am, what I did. Got out of OU in '73, spent a couple of years doing Ohio U basketball. Radio was what I wanted. Radio was my interest. Basketball in particular. Did 2 years with WOUB. I graduated, I went to WATH. Spent a year there, did their basketball. Moved on to, like anybody in this business, you move on to whatever next spot you've got to find, whether it's small town or not. I was fortunate in that I went from Athens to St. Louis. Pretty big jump in the market size, but was able to do this because just was a little aggressive and tried to make things happen, and there was opportunity, and it worked out where I got to go to St. Louis. Season ended, went to work at Cincinnati, covered the Reds, the Bengals, that kind of thing. Then heard of an opening in the old American Basketball Association, which some of you may know or remember. Dr. J, George Gervin, a lot of great players. Moses Malone. This was the dream job. I was 24 years old. I was ready to stay there forever. And 12 games into the season, they folded. So I was out of work. And stayed that way for the better part of a year. And, trying to find work, but it just wasn't going to happen. And I wasn't able to find anything. So I took a job in New Haven. I hated it. Nothing against New Haven. Didn't like the job. I'm from Cleveland originally, moved back home, went with mom and pop, lived with them for, I don't know, 6 months or something till I got situated. I got a job at a couple of stations in Cleveland, did Cleveland State basketball, so I was still on that basketball track. That's what I wanted. And all of a sudden, when I was in Athens back in '73, the AP had logged on with the radio network. And I sent them a tape. And the guy in charge called me up, hey, sound pretty good. You know, we're interested. Okay, fine. Nothing came of it. That's okay. You know, it's part of the learning process, right? And a couple of years after that, '76, they expanded and they flew me in for an interview. And I was one of 3 that went in. They hired 2. And the guy who in charge, the sports director, said, next time, I'll call you. Yeah, sure. It's not going to happen. Well, he did. 2 years later, he called me up, said, you interested? I said, sure. Do I have to come back in to talk? He goes, no, I've met you. I followed your work. If you want the job, you got it. So I was there in 2 weeks. Never dreaming that I'd be there 34 years later. You know, but again, this is how things happen. So I made the move to Washington and the AP, and you all may have a fair knowledge of what the AP is, but it is the world's largest news gathering organization. A lot of people. We just opened up a bureau in North Korea, one of the few that has that, so that's going to be extremely important for the news side. AP serves everybody. The AP, as you may know, is a cooperative owned by the newspapers, the radio, TV stations. We answer to them. So we serve them in any number of ways. In the old days, it was print doing newspaper copy, broadcast did radio and broadcast wire, and that was the extent of it. We produce videos now that just recently we were told have accounted for 1 billion hits on YouTube alone. I guess that's a pretty impressive number. I can't gauge that by anything, but I'm told that's impressive. A couple of websites that if you ever have any interest in looking at about the AP, I was quite surprised, to be honest with you, to go on this one recently and realize how outdated much of it is, but there is still things that are very current on that webpage. I joined them in '78, radio anchor, 50 shows a week live, began to travel. It was great. I loved it. And that lasted up until about 4 years ago when convergence, the changes that we now all see, began to take place. Radio wasn't what it once was. The revenue wasn't there like it once was. AP still does radio, newscast top of the hour, bottom of the hour. We in sports news provide closed circuit audio feeds to member stations. When I joined them, there was 1,000 stations. It's now down maybe a couple, 300. Still a lot, but nowhere near what it once was. So radio still exists. We're told it's viable. We're told it makes money. If not, they would shut it down. I have no doubt about it, and I would understand that if they did. But they changed because they had to, like everybody does right now in media. And to their credit, they took us, and pretty much all of us are late 50s or 60 years old, so we're not spring chickens, but they trained us in Final Cut Pro. And that obviously is a huge thing. That Final Cut fuels the internet as far as video. That's the primary video source or device to produce things. So that changed our job. Went from being a radio guy with some wire writing experience or work to still do the wire writing for the broadcast wire, cut this sound for post games to feed out to our affiliates, and now videos. And there are times, and again, part of the world we're in now with convergence, where I'll come into work or someone else will. My assigned duties are to be the writer. Pardon me, I'll sit down there, start to write whatever, and all of a sudden a story breaks. Well, now I've got to put on the second hat. I've got to get radio coverage set up. I've got to line up someone to feed audio on that story. So I've got the responsibility of the wire and the radio. You know, there's the video. You know, I've got to go do a video now. So you're doing really a jack of all trades. I mean, they're hustling. You know, they're getting 3 jobs out of 1, but that's the world we live in. You know, we all know that, and you have to accept that. And for people just starting, you got to learn everything you can about anything you can. You've got people now in major markets like Washington who for years were just the stand-up news guy. Now he's got a camera. He's carrying a tripod. The AP employs, I'm not sure how many, but video journalists who they just travel around the world with a camera, tripod. They'll set it up. They'll go stand in front of the camera. They'll do the piece. They'll go back, break it down, and then go produce the video. So again, this is just where it's at and how things have changed. You know, when Hans brought up convergence. I mean, I knew what it was certainly, but I looked it up on Wikipedia, and it's like, wow, that kind of sums up the AP. And in my view, from what it seems, and not that I've spent the time thinking about it, say Hans has, or some others in this room perhaps, but it seems like it's driven by economics and by the internet. It's all just changed. It all revolves around the internet, and it revolves around the cheapest way to do it. And then conversely is, how do you make money off of it? And that's the big issue for the AP and for other companies, is you've got this product and you're selling it to X number of people. If they turn it around on their website, don't you get some revenue out of that? And the AP is really working hard to try and find ways to make more money, and like anybody has to. 2008 was the big year where everything merged. Up until then, the AP in Washington, next to New York, the biggest bureau in the country, if not the world, was two separate offices: print, photos, broadcast. Video was just coming in, graphics just coming in. 2008, they shut down the two bureaus, put us into one building. Now we're all on the same floor. And it makes common sense. It does make sense. And there's always been the animosity of print and electronic. That's always been there. It always will be there probably. But it's lessened by this kind of thing happening. And with that, I tried to put something together for you, give you an idea about the AP. Now, interesting thing, you don't see any people. It's a beautiful big place. There's no people. It's the weekend. Now, years ago, you would have had people staffing weekends and at nights. There are still people there. They're just kind of in one corner. And during Monday through Friday daytime, there's a lot of people there. But it's just, again, the change of how this business has changed. You don't have the number of people working that you used to. This is where the AP brings in all of its video from multiple sources. That video is dispensed, and the audio from the video is dispensed to the radio operation to pull the sound, to the video operation to produce videos, obviously. The print people can take quotes off of this stuff. So this is where, again, the whole group working together. This is the, if I said master control before, I meant this is master control. That's the satellite center, which is on the newsroom floor where they dispense it. These folks are the ones on a different floor who bring in, looks like any TV, room like that would look, but those two things work hand in hand. If we have a game like the Super Bowl, we will get clearance to get video. We'll have a person there and a camera person there as well, but we'll also get video from the podiums post-game that will come in through all this, and then our video people that night will cut and make a package or two. Radio will pull it off for the sound as well, and that's how we'll cover the Super Bowl. Used to be years ago, it was just a guy going. Now that guy will still go, but he's freed up from having to get as much of the sound as he used to get. Now he can concentrate on just doing the stand-up and the various things that he's got to do. Now this is a glance at the broadcast and the print wires. Writers, not the wires themselves. There are no more wires really. But where those two people are, that's the broadcast desk. They're responsible for all the copy going out to member stations for television and radio. Stuff that I might write would go to them for proofreading. They would put it out. Behind them is the print side for the newspaper wire. And again, we're not going to hear it, but that's okay. This is Sandy Kozel who went here, as you can see. She's got a newscast. She's putting it together. And it was interesting to see today at OUB that the same editing program she's got there is the same one WOUB is using. It's called Netia. Sandy's been at the AP for a good 20 years or so, and with all the change that came, she's maintained her position as a news anchor. And you can look out and get an idea for what the rest of the newsroom looks like there. And I mean to tell you, when I was doing radio, you learn what you have to do, and you do your show. You open the mic up, you play the sound. Not that brain surgery, right? Nowadays, you see what's in there. I could not walk in there and do a show anymore. I'd have to be retrained on that. That's just beyond what I use. This is a little stroll through the part of the room that is online video producers. They're producing the videos that wind up on websites all over the world. She works in graphic banks, and she's taken the various sources from the AP images, AP graphics, and putting together a graphic, a slide, if you will, for use by newspapers, television stations, whatever. She's adding the various elements of the man and his flag behind him. It's a United Nations story. So he's there, his flag is there. She's going to add the United Nations logo in there. There we go. And she'll stick that in the background. And then the last thing she does is where there's the white line on the left, she'll add another white line, and then she'll put the identifier in there, his name, his position, that kind of thing. And this stuff is another service the AP has, you know, and again, at a cost, obviously, and it goes out to whoever is going to pay for it all over the world. This is where I work. What we've got here is the workstation for broadcast wire writing and audio intake. Obviously various TV monitors to watch games and such. Over here is another position. It's identical to this one, so someone can work there while someone's working here. This is across from where I'm sitting there. You're looking at this. This is, you can see obviously a Mac with Final Cut Pro on it. And when we produce a video, the video itself is done on the Final Cut, but you still need a PC on the format we've got to package it and to get it out to the members. Now, again, we don't have any audio on this, which is not a big loss, but what this is part of an obit that I've done on Bill Russell, who is still living. And I only put it in here to show the elements, you know, that we use. These are AP slides, AP photos. This is some archive AP video from the 60s. You've got voice over it by us, so that's AP radio, if you will. Coming up, you're going to have some archive audio in there from Russell. So you've got radio, video, graphics, and pictures. The angle here was he's.
But I did read a couple of cases, and we had an immediate affinity.
But before the start of their great union, Russell. Okay, so that ended that. Here's a portion of just again a spot news piece. Again, trying to show the elements being put together, and this is, you know, whether it's me or anybody else there, all doing the same thing.
Barry Larkin has been elected to baseball's Hall of Fame. The former Cincinnati Red shortstop received 86% of the vote in balloting announced Monday by the Baseball Writers Association of America. 75% of the vote is necessary for induction. Larkin was elected in his third season on the ballot.
Last year,
This was video that we paid to have someone go out and shoot.
First year, I didn't even think it was fathomable, to be quite honest.
So there's a little idea of a more of a spot news thing. He was elected that day, and we knocked this out. Now, where do these videos go that we do? Well, again, there's members all over the world, really, whether it's be a newspaper, radio, TV website, television website. USA Today, there's that piece. Click it, boom, you get to watch it. Same thing on the Washington Post. Hit it, boom, it plays. Now, this is all stuff that the Post pays the AP for, like they would the old days, just wire copy or whatever else. Orlando Sentinel, the Trib, and YouTube. This is something that's new. The AP is part of what's going on with the change. Is these are all sites where there are print reporters who've been trained in video, and they're calling them hybrid reporters. So these people here, there's two of them here, one, whatever, and there's probably more now since this came out. They have that capability. They can go out, and the guy up in Minnesota here, Minneapolis, named Jeff Bannon, is great. He's the prototype, really, because he does the wire writing. He can voice work for radio. He sounds good doing it. He has a camera now. He shoots video. He does the whole enchilada. And again, it was interesting to be here today and see that OUB uses this program as well. This is a program the AP developed and sells to newsrooms all over the world. The BBC has it as well, I'm sure. This one is called Elvis. It's an absurd name. I don't know who came up with it, and someone thought they were pretty cute. Everyone loves a very integrated system. And again, I put this in here just because, again, the idea of the convergence, that it's designed to bring everything into one spot. So on this screen on your computer, you've got access to the wire. You can click a story. There's the story. Tells you who wrote it, other metadata. And then you've got down here how many pieces, like there's 5 audio pieces about that story. There's 1 video piece, what have you. And this is what we use to write our copy for use in all the formats. There's a quick example of a broadcast copy from the other day, from 2 weeks ago. This is what we produce. We come in, our first guy comes in at 8 a.m. And again, used to be many years ago, we were almost 24 hours a day staff, but those days are over. Someone's always there, but in sports we're not. So the first guy comes in, he or she starts to write and put this script together. And it's called a Sports Right Now. There's also News Right Now. And then as the day goes on, it's added to and deleted. ENPS is the program that they have at OUB. And this is what we use to package video and audio. This is what we call an audio billboard. And what you've got here is, you start over here, and it gives you this. You then have the audio is affiliated with this. Audio shows up here, you drag it into here, open this up, and you've got what the billboard's going to look like for the member stations. You can play the sound and make sure that everything is working just fine. So that's the radio billboarding. As Hans said, professionally, it's the highlight of my career is the Olympics. I mean, not many people are fortunate enough to say they've been to one, and I've been very fortunate to go to 16 of these things right now. Every one, with the exception of Vancouver, since Lake Placid in 1980. I would have been at Vancouver, but I had back surgery. I couldn't make it. It's an amazing event. We've all seen it on television. I said this to a group earlier today. I feel bad for people in this country who watch the Olympics because you don't really see the Olympics. You see what NBC packages for you. They don't do it live. There's no real drama. You're not getting anywhere near what the real story is, and it's a shame because it's such an exciting, vibrant event. And I've said many times that if you ever have the opportunity to go to one, just to hang around, experience it. It is a unique experience. And that's why this London trip for some of the students this summer, for those that go, great opportunity, just a great opportunity for them. These are the credentials. Disney World has its e-ticket, gets you into everything. This is the e-credential. You only get this if you're an international agency. ABC, ESPN would not get this. This gets me into anywhere. Just walk in, you're in. Again, I had more hair back in 1980. And then that's from China. But this thing is golden. The first thing my boss at the time in 1980 Lake Placid said to me, when you go to bed, sleep with that credential. You lose that, you're out of luck. So I've always been very protective of that thing, that and the passport. Different types of credential. The E, as I say, is the top of the line one. The big difference is what it lets us do, and believe me, we worked very hard for this for about 20 some years, is to maintain the E because it gave us the ability to take recorders and microphones into the interview areas. Now, it may seem odd to say that you're going to cover the Olympics, you've got a credential, it's an ENR credential or some other credential. You can't take a recorder in. So you can be radio or TV, you can be ESPN. You're not going to get into the venue with a recorder or a camera and interview those people. It's because, obviously, they sell the broadcast rights to the NBCs and whoever else. They want to protect that. Part of me understands that. The other part says, no, this is a news event. There should be news availability. 84 Olympics, when Ronald Reagan opens up the Olympics, you know, the head of state always has like a prepared 10-word thing. I now declare open the games of the whatever Olympiad. Big legal battle about does AP and anybody but ABC, then the rights holder, have the right to use that. Just 10 words. Well, it was deemed that we did have the right. You know, that news, that this was news. It was the president. It wasn't the javelin thrower. So we've been able to maintain this, and it's been a lot of hard work to do. It doesn't get us cameras into the venues, but the microphones for radio we can still take in. Every city that has the Olympics, the first one for me was Lake Placid again, small town, northern New York State, and nowadays every main press center is a huge building, like an Alden Library. It's huge. The agencies like the AP pay for rent to take over a large portion of it. other places to post times. They pay for their places too. This is the Salt Lake City Press Center. It's a big complex. And in Lake Placid, by the way, the press center was the high school, and the AP was in the library. That's how things have changed. You could never do that now. There's just too many people. This is the AP newsroom for print at the Olympics in Italy. Pretty self-explanatory. And I'm really not sure, but I think that's me walking. I can't tell. Now this is the general area where the non-agency people who don't pay for rent for a private space, this is where they work. And they've got the workstations provided, printers, internet access, big screens. It's all there, but it's in the open. And you know, people are fighting for their space. Within that AP complex, this was AP broadcast back in the days when we were doing radio. And it's all, again, self-explanatory. One thing which is pretty cool is, you know, the TV sets and what they reflect is that, unlike NBC and you're watching it stateside, we have a completely unedited live feed from every event going on. So you can sit there and switch from gymnastics to swimming to boxing, no announcers, just the event, so you can cover it. So you can sit here in this kind of bunker mentality and cover the Olympics off of these live monitors. It's a great service. That's a radio studio we had in Greece. Each of the venues provides two work areas. One is a sub-press center, which is a small version of the main press center. It's covered indoors, has all the amenities, everything you need to do your job. At the venue, like this was women's beach volleyball at China, you've got these. And again, the AP and others pay for individual seats. So you're paying to have the right to work in that seat. They provide you with monitor, data, information, what have you, and then you can watch the event and file from there. Now when the event ends, the mix zone is when the athlete finishes his or her competition. They walk off of the whatever event, the pool, and there's a little fence up, and there's a pecking order. The first people they go to are the rights holders. Makes sense? NBC gets them one-on-one, whoever, BBC, fine. They move down a little further. They get to the agencies, that's where we are. We can't get over that fence, but we can lean over it with a microphone or a reporter with a pad. And part of the convergence for the AP is for years now, we've been providing the audio to the print guys so they can take their quotes from that. In many ways where it's worked out well is when you've got a gang of people here, you know, 20 people around this one small woman, is if the radio guy's got this up here, then he's got a recorder down here with a speaker on it, and he's turning that speaker on, and the print guys are back here, and they're taking their, you know, their notes because they couldn't get up front, let's say. So this is what's called the mix zone. That's at the beach volleyball. There's a mix zone in swimming, and I think that was in China. That e-credential I mentioned, you know, you get you to walk in. I mean, this was an example of it. I took that picture. I got off work one day. I walked over to the track and field venue. I walked in the door, nobody said anything to me. I walked down the steps, no one says boo, you've got that e-credential. I walked up to the front row, sat down, and had that view. It doesn't get much better than that. And that's pretty cool. An idea of how crazy it can be, LeBron James. You know, it's just, when this herd gets out, another herd will come in. And, you know, I've said to students earlier in the day, and I meant it then, I'll mean it now, if anybody's got a question, an interest, or whatever, feel free. You know, I'd be flattered. You send me a note, you know, I'll get back to you. I'll find out an answer for you if I don't know it. I guess that's about it as far as the general presentation. Hopefully that fits something of what you wanted. You know, talking to the students today, it's been interesting to hear them because they know as well as I do or you do that change has come, change is continuing. It's never easy to get your first job or get started no matter what you do. But it's becoming very difficult for young people to get that opportunity now. There's less and less media to do it. Doesn't mean that there aren't jobs, doesn't mean there's still a lot of jobs out there, because there are. But it's just not what it once was. And I think becoming skilled in whatever your primary interest is, but having enough knowledge in other areas, related or non-related, is extremely important. If you have a broad base of knowledge, it's just not going to hurt you. And if the time comes where you're in your profession for 5 years, 10 years, and you realize I'm going on 30, this isn't working, it's not what I want, well, then maybe you've got an opportunity to do something else, you know, if you've looked into other things, you know, when you were at OU. But, you know, again, don't try to be corny with any of this today, but I believe this, and I say it to my daughter who's sitting here. You know, if you're aggressive, and if you stick your face in people's faces and shake their hand, look them in the eye, as old school as that sounds, that's about as important as it gets. It's a knock some people have, perhaps unjustly so, but that young people, quote unquote, we're all guilty of it, live with our nose inside of our iPad or our iPhone or whatever the case may be, and our social skills aren't what they once were. And that's just the reality of the way things are. There's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes time for work, you know, the email doesn't cut it. You need to call people, you need to talk to them. Never be afraid to be told no, be rejected. You know, walk in and introduce yourself, and things may happen for you. That's how I got a job when I was in Athens, out of work, just quit the job at WATH. The ABA team in St. Louis was looking for a radio guy. It was a brand new team. Some guy by the name of Bob Costas got the job. And they called me up. They were interested. And I remember taking the phone call and hanging up thinking, I blew this. Man, I just, you know, I was nervous. I just didn't present myself well. I thought about, you know, to hell with it. I got in the car and I drove to St. Louis. And I drove and I met the guy, knocked on his door. All right, he told me. At that point, Costas hadn't been hired, but he said, yeah, we're going to go in another direction. However, St. Louis University needs a radio guy. I know the coach. Would you like me to call him? Sure. So I got a job in St. Louis, going from Athens to St. Louis. It's a pretty good jump. It was a great experience. You know, I wouldn't have gotten it if I hadn't been aggressive and gotten in the car. So anyway, I mean, I'll be glad to take any questions if I can answer anything for you. I've rambled enough, I guess. I'm of the belief whatever you learn is going to be beneficial. If you can walk into potential job site A and say if you've only done 5 minutes of something, you've done it. You're not lying. You're being honest. I have experience doing this, and I've done this. If you say those things, well, again, you're not lying. I would never presume to fabricate resumes or anything like that. But if you learn a little bit of this and a little bit of that, it just certainly isn't going to hurt you. If you look at it this way, London is 5-6 hours different than us. So the event's going to take place before people here wake up in many cases. What's more immediate than internet or radio? And for years, when NBC and ABC before them would tape delay those events till 6 o'clock at night when you got home from for dinner, if you listened to the radio, you knew those results. So, pardon me, that was great for us. That was great for radio. Now, as a viewer, I'm perfectly thrilled that they're going to start doing more and more. I mean, I wasn't able to go to Vancouver, and I wound up watching it on television and was very frustrated by it because it just wasn't the real experience of what's going on in their life. And you're right, again, the ABC in 1980, ABC was ABC, that was it. There was no other outlet. Now you've got the web, but you've also got the multiple NBC channels. They just changed Versus now to NBC Sports, so you know that's going to be big with them, and they're going to hype that thing out. So, yeah, it doesn't change the covering of anything because you still have to be there and cover it. Does it change maybe how you cover it? Maybe it will. Maybe, you know, the AP someday or other people, they'll still cover it in a spot news now happened basis, but maybe they get a little softer and do more features on things because it's been broadcast live in the States. I don't know. I would think the AP will always stay the AP, which is cover it, get it out as fast as you can, accurately, and let it go from there. Well, you know, I don't know, but I can say this. The AP has had an app or two. When I first got the iPad in March of last year, first thing I downloaded was the AP app. I was really disappointed with it. Everything on it was like outdated. I went to the manager. I said, let's be honest, the video on here is outdated. This isn't contemporary. And his reply was, at the moment, they're revamping it and they're going to redo it. Now, just recently, I read where the AP is indeed about to get a whole new mobile approach out. I've got to think that there would be something generic, not generic, but specific to the Olympics. And again, it's not that the AP won't put up like the Beeb might. The AP wouldn't put up a website, I don't think, just on the Olympics for AP, but they would do it with interactives. They did that last time out, interactives, all the video and whatever, and sell that to those newspaper and radio stations. So let them put it out. under their banner. Orlando Sentinel presents the Olympics, and all that copy and everything is in there. May not even say AP. You may not even know it's an AP product. You know, again, the AP is relatively nondescript in that way, and that's fine. It's just the way the AP has always been. Oh, God. You know, Jorge, obviously I don't know who does. I mean, let's be honest, I'm 60 years old. I'm on the downslide of my career. That's going to end in the next 5-6 years. I've been of the thought that, you know, the movie Terminator 2, when they found the chip, and then that was going to change the whole world. I'm almost convinced that about 15 years ago, somebody found that chip. Because you look at all the stuff that's happened in our lifetime in the last 15 years. My daughter's growing up with some of these people in this room. It didn't exist until they were born. So who knows? I mean, you've got to think. I know the AP has got people working on stuff like that all the time. God, George Lucas and people like that, you know, with the resources they have, if they can make $1 on stuff, I mean, who knows where it's going to go? I mean, will the internet be what everybody thinks it is right now? Will it be the final thing? It may not. You know, handheld devices are where it's at. The AP says they want to address handheld and make things available. Man, I don't know. They're all groping to find the way to make that money, to turn that dollar. It's still a print mentality that runs the company, for the most part. The gentleman who just announced his retirement, Tom Curley, as the CEO, has been there for 8 years. He's the one that has brought in the cross-platform thinking and taken it into the digital world. Who or what the next person will do, I mean, time will tell, obviously. But yeah, print is still extremely heavy and important. But even the print guys have had to accept the fact that finally broadcast is here to stay. And with the internet being more closely involved with broadcast than it is with print, you know, change has to come even more, I would think. Well, you know, I think it's multiple. You've got those hybrid people who shoot video for the AP. The AP employs full-time some video journalists in Washington who travel around the world. These people are nomads. They're all single, as you would need to be. A lot of it comes from the source. Major League Baseball or NFL, whatever, they will put not game highlights, and you can't lift the video of the game, but the post-game of the podium where they bring the coach in and the players, they'll put that up on a bird. We can use that. There are specific limitations on how long you can use it, how much you can use every day. You've got to put a graphic up the whole length of what you're using at the courtesy of MLB, whatever the case may be. And we've got an agreement with ESPN where it's not carte blanche, but a lot of the stuff that they provide, again, not studio generated, but venue stuff of post-game interviews, that we get access for that too. Again, with the courtesy bug up there, that courtesy ESPN. In a perfect world, you know, the AP or whoever would have enough money to go out and just shoot your own video at everything. But that's not there. I mean, that may happen someday, but I don't know. So everywhere and anywhere. Obviously, there's no answer. However, and not to cop out, as I said earlier, to my way of thinking, I think it makes sense. You do all those things. You get a touch base on all that. And it's a matter of, again, it's not easy, but finding that first job, the second job, make the progression. If you, let's say you wanted to go to the AP and do that specific thing, then just make damn well sure you make it. You do it, and no one's going to deter you, and nothing's going to stop you. You know, I think, and just speaking for myself, I was always I knew what I wanted, and I knew I was going to go after it and try and get it. Now, AP was never in that scenario. The Olympics, good God, never was in the scenario. You know, it just kind of happened. You know, I got to work there. I was the low man on the pole. I wasn't going to go to Lake Placid. The guy right above me wound up taking a job in Detroit. I got bumped up a notch. I got to go to Lake Placid, and then ever since. I did. You know, if you don't mind, I'm going to sit down. Yeah, I had to. I mean, my area was the radio, and I loved that, and that's what I wanted to do, and that's really all I did. I mean, I sold advertising time. I did promotion work whenever I could. I did whatever I could to try and just do things related. And I did do that in pretty much every town that I was in, Athens, St. Louis, Cincinnati, some sales calls, whatever. But, you know, the thing that I'm at right now, yeah, I didn't plan it. It just kind of happened. And yes, and again, I'm thankful. The AP did decide to train guys who've been around for a while. And we've all been able to, thankfully, maintain our jobs, which is great. You know, if someone had chosen not to learn Final Cut Pro, no, you don't keep your job. And that's just the reality of where things are as well. And you've got to be able to change. But yeah, there's no Columbia School of Broadcasting which tells you, you know, what the answer is or how you're going to do it. Yeah. Well, you know, a story is a story. I mean, not to sound trite, but I mean, whatever that may be, you've got to cover it. And now again, yeah, it's changed. The job has changed because of all the different platforms that we're responsible for. There truly are times when I'm the only person there or someone else is, and you've got to put all the three hats on. It's very demanding, but the day goes quickly. Look for the bright side. The day goes faster, home quicker. But no, I mean, if you're at an event like that bombing in Atlanta when that happened, you just get at it. You just do what you have to do. Same thing would hold now true. God forbid there's a bombing in London. You know, we'll all do whatever we have to do. Someone has to do radio, someone's got to do the TV, get quotes for print, whatever, write something, you know, it'll be done. You know, we'll just have to do what we have to do. Yeah.